What Drives You is brought to you by Ziglar, your premier source for equipping life and leadership coaches. Visit Ziglar.com and let them inspire your true coaching performance.
Yeah.
And folks, after the show, Erin actually gave me a coupon code. So we're inserting it here at the beginning so you'll know. If you do decide to get your own human design, go to humandesignblueprint.com and use the code, the word DRIVE, and you'll get 10% off. Welcome to What Drives You. I am your host, Kevin Miller, and thanks for joining me as I talk with today's most influential change makers to uncover what truly drives them and extract the big takeaways from their insights so you can integrate that wisdom and leverage the power of your unique inner drive and wake every day to your authentic, driven, and inspired life. In this episode, we continue this series on human design, which we kicked off with expert Erin Claire Jones, one of the most influential people I found in this human design arena. Erin runs the Human Design Blueprint. If you go to humandesignblueprint.com, you can do a free profile there. And if you want to upgrade to the paid one, like I did, use code DRIVE and you'll get 10% off. But this is part 3, where I bring in another expert to discuss the issue. And with me is Renée Marino. Many of you know Renée. She's been a guest on the show. And this must be, I don't know, Renée, the 5th time, more, 6, 7, something like that you've joined me to co-host, which is awesome because Renée is a personal development expert and connoisseur like me. And you also probably know her as a Broadway and big screen star. You can go check her out right now on, Amazon or wherever, and check out Clint Eastwood's movie, Jersey Boys. She's the lead female role there. It's just so much fun. I'm so glad she doesn't show up to these shows like she does in that role specifically. And today you'll find her, though, on stage and camera as a communications expert. And I highly recommend you go check her out at RenéeMarino.com. If you're watching the video, you see her book behind me on becoming just that, mastering your communication skills. And she's just everywhere. I see it's so cool to see you. Everybody is bringing you on to talk about communication. And Renée, I will say, just to continue my long intro already, Renée is how I found out. I think I said this on the show with Erin. That's how I found out about it. Renée and I were at an event together, a Ziglar event, and we're talking later in the evening. And she starts telling me about human design. I'm like, come on, for real, off my birth date and where I was born. And she's like, check it out. And she talked about Erin. And literally, and I think I told you this from Renée, that happened. I took the test. I upgraded. I paid for the bigger test. And then like a month later, I get from some agency or publisher or whatever, they're going, I wonder if you'd be interested in having this girl, Erin Claire Jones, on the show. Like, seriously?
Wow. So. I know. Do you see, though? Do you see how when things are meant for you, they will not miss you? It's like when I'll never forget getting that text from you. I was like, you have to be kidding me. Because this was such a, I feel like this was such a, like, clear conversation you and I had about human design. Like, I remember it like it was yesterday, and I was like, Kevin, you got to do it. You got to find out what time you were born. And you're like, I'm like, no, I'm telling you, this is a game changer. And here we are.
And I know. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time, like I mentioned, talking about how does this stuff work. I've talked to so many people about it. I said, I keep coming up with more things. I don't know how they work. I don't know how my car works. I don't know how antibiotics work. I don't know how the internet works and what it's useful. I don't understand the whole human design aspect. I mean, my gosh, my own spirituality. I mean, I grew up in the Bible, and the more I read it, the more I don't understand it, but I have faith. So if we go with that, with faith, I don't know how this stuff comes up with the insight that it does out of my, what is it? Birth date, your birth date, your time, and your place of birth, right?
Place of birth. Yep.
Place of birth.
Yep.
I've talked to some people about some theories. Let's just let that go. Go knock yourself out, research it, or maybe don't, because it might scare you off. Just do the thing. And if you find it useful, like we did, because again, Renée, the thing that I keep talking to people about is all the other personality profiles, which I am a fan of, Enneagram, DISC, Myers-Briggs, they're self-reporting. This isn't. And that just rocks my world.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I went to Erin Claire Jones's website. I downloaded the whole blueprint book. Remember? And I remember telling you, like, Kevin, you have to download this. It's like, it's a true blueprint when you think of what a blueprint is. Mm-hmm. And I remember I printed out. I have it right next to me.
Yeah.
I printed this bad boy out. when I read it, I started crying because I couldn't. It was almost like I had a psychic sitting next to me or something, like breaking me down, being like, "Oh, Renee, and because you have an open head and an open emotional," I'm like, "What?" And all of these things that all throughout my life I have always known and felt and looked to as like, what's wrong with you? Now I'm like, oh, this is how I'm designed. This is how I'm supposed to be. So it brought tears to my eyes. Then I read through it to my husband and he was like, what? Because he knows me. And he was like, yeah, that's you. And then I read it to my mother. So like the two closest people to me. And she was like, what is this thing? Because it was as if someone who knows me better than anyone else wrote this all down and I was reading it to my mother. So it really is such an incredible tool. And listening to your conversation with Erin, I love the way she put it. She said it's just like this productivity tool that you have in your back pocket that can just help you as you're going about your life, as you're moving about your business. And that's really what it is. It's this resource for you to refer to when maybe you don't understand why you're struggling with something or why you're trying to understand some resistance that you're facing in your life, in your business. I know for me, that's how it's served me.
Okay, and I want to dig in there. I'll leave one thing here. I know we have a big faith-based contingent on the show, and I am one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So even as we look, I'm going to compare it real quick to evolution. We can get a lot. I grew up with evolution was the bad thing. I was in the Bible Belt, and now I look at it and go, well, I have no problem reading my Bible and saying God designed evolution. I have no. Again, people can. I may lose some listeners there, but I'll probably gain even more. In the same way with this, I ultimately look at it and go, could God have designed it this way? I have no problem with God being behind this not being some thing that people are going to discount, which is that. And that's my point. I don't want people to discount it because the word astrology might be associated with it, or it feels a little woo woo, because I get it. That's one. And I hit that hard with Erin. I hope we did justice. I'm going to leave it there. I can have faith in this. To what you said, this starts off, Renee, right at the beginning, I think, of my profile. Maybe it does all of ours. And it says, well, I'll do this. According to human design, this is what comes on the blueprint that you and I paid for. This is written to me. You are designed to be a blank. I'm going to leave it out because folks do that, because what follows is what matters. Whether or not you live in accordance with your design, that's a different story. And I found that many of us, myself included, this is Erin writing, are not always living in alignment with our designs. And often this is where we find ourselves experiencing more resistance than flow. Love it. And that's my premise for this today. We're talking about, here is something that I have found useful, and it's helping me understand where I have been in resistance to it, and I am not in flow. And I could look at that again and go, gosh, if you're, mechanic working on your car and you can't get that part to move, you don't have the right tool. If you get the right tool, you're in flow. So this is some tool. And I like that. I think for some reason, and I don't know why yet, Renee, different than the other profiles and whatnot, this one helped me tune into some things where I'm going, yeah, I have had resistance there. It's been, I would even say, dissonance. And this came out talking with one of my daughters the other day about it, because she's doing it now. And it said, I don't remember the terminology. Maybe you know that, but one of the issues that she would deal with, according to hers, is guilt as a,
oh, yeah.
What would that be, like a motive? And but that resonated with me, that I've been along feeling guilty about this, and this saying, this is my human design. However, again, I'll always preface all of this with, it doesn't mean that I'm taking the human design and go, oh gosh, now I don't feel guilty, because that's just, I am what I am. No, I don't feel guilty. I have grace for it. Doesn't mean I'm just going to say that's what I am, but that feels so helpful.
It feels so helpful because it feels like something we can use to validate who we are instead of working against who we are. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but my former question, Tony Robbins always talks about, like, what's your primary question? And my primary question, I realized when I look back at my life, being a perfectionist, as you and I have talked about, a lot of times the question is, what is wrong with you, Renee?
Yeah.
If you can't get something perfect, what is wrong with you, Renee? And when it comes to ways that we are, i.e., not super organized. You and Erin talked about how you are like, you love creating the ideas, but then you want to walk away because you're not about the details. I'm the same way, Kevin.
Yeah.
And for so long, I'm like, what is wrong with you, Renee? Why can't you get into the details? But now that I have this information about the way I'm designed, I can say, oh, I'm operating in the way I'm intended to. So instead of fighting myself on that or asking myself, what is wrong with you because you're not that way? Instead, it's like, no, let's just remind myself it's all okay. It's almost like for me a tool of acceptance, which I think acceptance is such a beautiful gift that we can give to ourselves.
Yeah.
And just to say, oh, this is Renee, you are 5'2". You're never going to be 5'9". Just accept it. Like, I'm always okay to accept that all my years as a performer. Oh, Renee, maybe you don't get this job. They need someone taller. I was okay to accept that because in my mind, Kevin, that's the way God made me. God made me 5'2". So I could accept that. But isn't it funny? Other qualities about myself throughout my life, I haven't accepted because I'm like, I need to work for this. No, Renee, you could work harder to be more this way. Get into the thick of it. You should be this way. But now that I have this tool of human design, I'm like, no, 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 no more shooting all over myself. This is now my confirmation of this is the way you were designed to be. So let's work with your gifts.
Okay, it's so funny. Today, I'm out in my driveway messing with a car. We had to get a car towed out of the driveway, and I'm thinking about this because I'm always thinking about the show prep and whatever. And I was thinking about these analogies. I literally thought about height. I promise you, I thought about height because I thought, okay, because I was thinking about black hair. Like I can't change on black hair, and somebody goes, "Oh, you color your hair, you can do whatever." I think, okay, height. You just can't mess with that. You are what you are. I used to be 6 foot. I am no longer 6 foot. I'm like a solid 5'11" at best. So I think it's all the pregnancies. They just
Yeah, no, it is.
they warm it up. But height, I love that, and yet we feel. Again, I'm going to use the word guilt because that came up in mine as well. And I have always thought of myself with a negative bent of being impatient. That, oh my gosh, I just viewed myself as so impatient. Here comes along human design. And Erin talked about this. She says, according to yours, you have a really high value for efficiency. Well, God love you for saying, and I do, I love that. I'm like, oh my gosh, get rid of that. And in the right frame, it is such a good gift. Now, it does make it difficult over here sometimes when I'm running at a different speed or I'm not wanting to pay attention like that to the details, but to say, gosh, I really value efficiency. So I'm going to struggle over here. And sometimes it is not the place for me to be super efficient and for me to impress that, that on people. And I need to slow down, but at least I just have some grace. And gosh, I know that that's my propensity. Take a deep breath. It doesn't have to own me. And in this place, we need to not just focus on efficiency. We really need to, tune into the kid or tune into whatever and whatnot. Yeah. When you were talking about it, I thought about you on stage. So here you are on stage in Broadway and you are doing your thing. How goofy would it have been if you had gone backstage and said, okay, guys, I got to go to the costume closet and make sure everybody's costumes are arranged right. And give me the schedule again when everybody's going on. They would have smacked you down and said, Renee, you're up on a minute. Go over there, get a glass of water, take a deep breath, and do your thing. This is not your job. And you would have, right. Yes. How to do that in life and go, okay, this is where I shine, because I have one kid specifically who would love to be behind stage. They would hate being on stage and they would kill it backstage doing the details. And we may pay them more than the person on stage. They are so valuable, but that's where they shine. And we wouldn't be upset that they're horrified. I would be horrified, actually, to be on stage and doing what you did as well. But I love those analogies. And yeah, why do we not do those with ourselves? But help me, because everybody's going to hear that. And we always want to polarize and discount the opposite of that, or not the opposite, but that we're not talking about limiting ourselves, confining ourselves, and just saying, I am what I am. This is not some narcissistic type thing of going, hey, I'm just figuring it out. Now I don't have to change. No, you're going to modify and ebb and flow, but with grace for yourself. And the thing you said, you saying, what's wrong with me, Renee?
Yeah.
Not doing that. And what it's helping me do is see that of not doing that to somebody else. What's wrong with you that you're not
Yes.
like me?
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you brought up that point, because I was thinking the same thing. The flip side of that is someone who goes, okay, great. I am who I am. I'm not going to change. This is just me. But what I want to decipher the difference here is the difference between saying to yourself, what is wrong with me, and beating yourself up and feeling that resistance within yourself, as opposed to accepting that part of yourself. And when we come from a place of acceptance, I know this in my experience, I know this from speaking to therapists, from speaking to a lot of spiritual leaders and teachers. Only from a place of acceptance can we then ever make positive shifts that we want to make. So that's the difference. Sitting in it and saying, like, people say I'm really rude. That's just me. Sorry. No, that's just letting yourself off the hook and saying, I don't need to change. As opposed to saying, okay, I have a propensity for being a little short-tempered. I'm impatient sometimes. Okay, I understand this is number one, it's what I was brought up around, so it's kind of nurtured into me. Understanding that, I accept that this is something that is ingrained in me.
Mm-hmm.
Next time I'm faced with a moment where I can be short-tempered, I'm going to be conscious of it and do my best to choose differently. That's all we got, right? I mean, we are in this life. I believe we are here. It's a school. Life is a school. We are here to learn the lessons. We're here to grow. So all we can do is our best. And I think that having something like human design is such a tool to help us lean into the learning as opposed to the judging. And the judging, I think, is where we all get off kilter. That's where we all start kind of veering off the path to what we're supposed to be here to do. We can't ever forget, we all have strengths. We all have areas of opportunity for growth.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're not aware of that and we think we should be a certain way, we should have all strengths and no weaknesses, this is where the problems arise in our health physically, in our health mentally and emotionally and spiritually. It's when we're fighting that human aspect of imperfection, right? And I think that that's why this has been such a gift to me. And I've just had the introduction into human design over like the past year. And I can't tell you how much it has served me and helped other people by explaining to them this same principle. When I hear them say, but Renee, I just can't do this thing. Well, I'll say, well, maybe you're not designed to be completely task driven. Maybe you're supposed to vacillate in and out of different careers and different things. It's allowed me to help others as well.
Okay. I didn't know it had been that recent for you.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. I love your aspect of learning versus judging. I mean, I've been on this emotional intelligence, journey, and Marshall, man, I continue to forget his last name, but nonviolent communication, Marshall Rosenberg, maybe. Nonviolent communication, and him talking about observing. Can I observe my propensity? I think you used that word. Observe somebody else's and not judge. Not, he would say, observe, not evaluate. And that's what we tend to do. It's interesting. You said, you referenced imperfections, that we're all imperfect. I was talking with a couple of my kids about this, my older kids, and I think it was them. I've talked to so many people lately about it, but they talked about,
it was one of the bunch,
one of the crew, that we're in this age of specialization. which I appreciated. I mean, we want a doctor who is specifically an expert in that one thing. If I've got, I have a broken thumb right now, so I'm going to work with a hand surgeon or whatever. Specifically, I do not want somebody who just does a little bit of everything. I talked about this with a group that I lead. One of the guys is he's a lawyer, and he dabbled in there, but ultimately went into personal injury lawyer. So now if somebody asks him about estate planning or whatever, he says, I'll refer you to somebody else. I don't do that anymore. I'm not up to speed on that. And if you want him, for corporate law, I mean, he knows about it, but it's not what he does. He's not even licensed, I think, anymore. We want a specialty. And to realize that us as humans are going to, even in relationships, we're going to specialize in I was thinking about us at the event. So we're at the Ziegler event down in Dallas, and I think it was that first day that we were there, and people were asking about details about some of the topics you and I were talking about. And I finally said, well, gosh, why don't we just, there's no way we can help everybody. How about if we just have everybody who wants to discuss this further, go outside during or after dinner, I think it was, and we'll talk about it there. And so great idea. And I tend to look at opportunities and whatnot. Okay. But now what does it take? Now it takes going into dinner and corralling everybody and saying, hey, and I remember, do you remember? I remember going, oh my gosh, I don't like that. Wait a minute. Cause we had talked about this. We talked about it as far as the, working genius, Patrick Lencioni's, and that galvanizing, getting people together is one of your higher traits. And it's not for me. And I said, well,
yeah.
You ask him. And so you did. I don't know. You might've gotten on a chair or something. It's like, hey, everybody, we're doing this. We're doing whatever. And how great for me that it was a great collaboration. And that's what I see in this, with whether it's business or whether it's just relationships, us and our spouses, of going, look, man, this is where we're strong, where we're weak, where our propensities are, and let's have grace for them. Let's use them. And we just don't do that. We don't do that culturally very well. I mean, I just have not seen, I think in business, we tend to at least have some structure that hopefully embodies that a little bit more. But man, just in the general populace, it's just right, wrong, polarization, and not looking at, of course, people are going to see and experience things so differently. And this, I don't know why this yet resonated to this degree so much more than the other profiles that I do like and value. I don't want to dismiss those. I'm not going to say this is better. It's different. Is that fair?
It makes me think of our educational system. Yeah. And how it's designed for one type of learning. So if you're a child who learns really well in an environment where you're sitting behind a desk and a teacher's talking with you, and like that structure, those four walls, then you'll really excel in school. But not everyone learns in that way. Some children need to not be around other individuals for them to be able to focus and hone in. Some children need to maybe hear it audio, like right in their ears, instead of just watching the teacher, which, obviously in school you're listening and you're watching, but maybe they need that kind of the blinders on, where they're just listening, almost like an audiobook, to really let the information absorb in their brains. Yeah. There's so many different learning styles, but I think we have an educational system that sends the message: if you're not doing well on your tests in this environment, well, you need to be held back, or you're not smart. And children are getting this message, but it's so false, because they could just excel in a different learning environment with a different learning style. Think of the SATs. I always said, I was a straight A student. I was National Honor Society president, class president, in theater. I did all the things. But when it came to taking the SATs, my mother always likes to say I spent all of her money taking the SATs like 10 times, because I was like, I got to get a higher score. Just test taking for me in that way did not serve me well. Yeah. So what does that mean? Did I use that against myself? Yes. But if I had a tool like this to understand, Renee, maybe that's just not an environment where you excel, and that's okay. Yeah. Maybe I would have let myself off the hook a little bit and saved my mom some cash instead of taking it 47 times. Like, this is why human design is so eye-opening for me, and it's been such a game changer because it this is maybe a silly way to say it, but for someone who has led a life of perceived perfectionism, driving toward what I believe is perfect, it can be really stressful. And this lets you off the hook a little bit, like gives you the space and the grace to say, no, girl, this is, you're doing it the way you're designed to do. Here's a funny example. You ready for this one, Kev? If you think I did my group coaching right before we got on this video today. Before I started coaching, I go, you know what? I want coffee. And, I'm not having coffee every day, just every few times a week. And I go out to get coffee and I couldn't decide if I wanted hot or cold. So if you think, Kevin, that I have both, and if you think I'm sipping a cold brew and then I'm sipping a hot coffee and I'm accepting it, you're right. Because guess what? My human design shows me that I'm meant to be fluid. I'm not supposed to be completely decisive, and that's okay. Now, if this were me 5 years ago and I couldn't decide, I would beat myself up over that and be like, Renee, you have to decide. Do you want hot or cold? But nope. I said, you know what? I'm not stressing myself out. I'm getting both. And here we are.
I love that, accepting and not judging that whatever. Again, I was about to give it a term. Well, I'll say it, but then I'm gonna retract it. Your idiosyncrasies or whatnot. Just say, no, this is just your design for whatever reason. And I've spent so long saying, okay, we've got to figure out how to manage our dysfunctions. They are what they are. I got to stop saying that and say, manage our designs, our uniqueness.
Designs. Oh, wait, Kev.
Mm-hmm.
It's design over dysfunction.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a content piece right there.
Design over dysfunction. We got to let Erin know about that.
Yes, tell Erin and I'll message her as well. It's design, not dysfunction. And this is what human design helps us understand.
Yeah.
That instead of labeling what we look to as, I'll say, former weaknesses, we can understand that it's part of our design, and our design is beautiful. And our design, no matter who we are, we have imperfections because we're supposed to as human beings. And when we lean into those imperfections, that's what connects us with others the most. I mean, that's what I teach as a connection expert. Those parts of ourselves that we often want to hide from the world, we don't want to talk about, we feel vulnerable. When we share those with others, those are always the ones that connect us with others on a deep level, because we let others know you are not alone. If you can't decide between hot and cold coffee, you're not alone. Come to my camp, buy both, right? And I think it's such a gift that we can give to one another when we start to understand that it's design and not dysfunction.
I love it. Design over or is not dysfunction. Because along with that, reading my human design, some of what I read there made me think maybe it's not ADHD. Maybe it's just design. Not to discount again, folks. As soon as somebody hears that, does somebody out there have clinical absolute ADHD? Absolutely. I'm not going to go into that. For myself, at least as I read it, it made me question the quote dysfunction, as Renee is talking about here, and to think about, this is a design that I want to be more honest. You said accepting. I also want to be more honest with. I talked about this with my buddy Randy. We're business partners. I wish I had been more aware of this earlier on to say, you know what? I tend to start things. I get excited. I'm a great starter. You're pointing at Renee's pointing at herself if you're not watching the video. And matter of fact, everybody needs to watch the video, especially with Renee. Come on, this is fun. And it's animated and we're having fun. Go to YouTube. It's Kevin Miller, COS.
Yes.
But with that to say, I'm going to get excited, man. Give me the blank sheet of paper. I want to create the structure. I want to create the framework. And that's kind of where I end, not where I end, but that's where my benefit is. Now we're going to need other people to do the other parts here. And I'm going to be able to keep innovating the opportunities and the ideas here if I'm going to be of use here. Or it may be that I'm just used for a segment and then I am done. Either way, this is kind of me. It's probably not going to change. And I can be harnessed well to get us, to get us started. But my skill is not on the back end. And man, I spent so many years feeling bad about that, Renee, thinking I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur, right? And you kind of do everything. And I didn't do that. It was one time many years ago, where my wife said, and she said it kindly. She's like, you're not that real, you're like this business person. You're not really a good businessman. I said, you're actually right. There's so many things that I don't do well. I have a certain skill set, but running a business, which is what we think of with a business person, I don't run a business well. I need a lot of help with that. I've got a certain skill set there. And yeah, just to look at that and go, it's not a dysfunction. That is my gift. It doesn't go too far beyond that. Let's use it well and find other people then to round that out.
Oh, I am so with you on that, Kevin. When I started my business, again, like picture going from decades of being a professional singer, dancer, actor, where I showed up to rehearsals. I made sure that my vessel was ready to go. I trained 8 shows a week on Broadway. And then going to LA, I wrote my own one-woman show because writing is one of my gifts, that creative side of my brain, and doing the film. I mean, operating in that space, the performance space, to then being like, oh, I'm starting my own business. Truly, like you, I have the idea and I jump in. I jump in imperfectly, both feet. And then being like, whoa, this is a lot. And for the past 3 years, I mean, I've pretty much done it myself. I mean, I had little help here and there, but I can't tell you the days of the stress.
Yeah.
Like asking myself, like, why can't I figure this out? Oh my gosh, but the funnel and the emails and this and the videos and now through human design, I understand, Renee, you're a generator. You have to do things that light you up. And if it doesn't light me up, it's not like other designs where, oh yeah, this stinks, but I got to do it. That's not what I feel. I feel drained.
Mm-hmm.
Like to the point that I now am confused as to what I'm doing because I'm so out of my zone of genius that I feel lost. I didn't understand that until I learned about human design. And I was like, oh my goodness, this makes so much sense.
Yeah.
This is why I've had such days of stress because I'm operating so outside of my zone of genius, doing the back end stuff, creating this, creating that. And I'm like, oh, I want to be singing, dancing, and acting again, right? Because that's what I love, being with people, performing, like using my gifts that light me up. But now I understand that those days that I start to feel that frustration, because that's when I'm out of like not operating from my authority.
Yeah.
It's frustration that I feel. Now I'm clued into the minute I feel that frustration, Renee, you're not doing what lights you up. And it just really is such a help because instead of trying to fight against the current, it's like, no, Renee, you just need to recalibrate, get the outsourcing that you need so those people can handle what's not your zone of genius. And then you'll be able to move forward with joy.
Totally. I so appreciate that, Renee. It brings me to thinking of something that I've always known. I've talked about some and just didn't know how to reconcile, I guess, that some people that I know, people close to me, are okay doing, let's just use work, for instance, going to a work. I mean, it's good. I mean, thank goodness I don't know a bunch of people, or if any, that are going to some toxic work environment. I have a blue zone of my own, and most people are in touch with that and having a place that's good and healthy and inspiring, whatever. But they may go to their work, their place of vocation, and do what they do. And it's good. Is it what they're passionate about? I'm going to bring that in because we talk so much about the passions. I think there's a handful that would go, gosh, not necessarily. It's, it's good. It provides well. I enjoy the people. The work is, it's fine. I enjoy that. But oh my gosh, what it affords me financially or time or whatever, is going over here and doing this thing. Oh, I totally love. And I'm looking at it and going, well, if that's what you totally love, you have to do that all the time. And I've run aground on that because I'm projecting myself to where I've realized, man, I just don't have the capacity to not be waking up and working full on all day on that thing that I am most interested in. And I've just kind of put it up to, I just don't understand it, but I did learn, thank goodness, not to judge it, because I have some very good friends who I respect tremendously who love their life, doing their thing during the day. That's fine. And then doing the thing later that they totally love and they've had huge success. So I've looked at it and gone, well, I can't judge it because they're doing great, but man, it's not me. And for this, you're right, as the generator, and I'm the manifesting generator. And that's one of the things, first things that talked about is I've got to, it said one of your biggest lessons, Kevin, is to prioritize your own excitement and satisfaction, which again, I'm going to put that in a positive way of to prioritize that excitement and satisfaction. I need that to be part of my day so that I can be at my fullest and be a good spouse, a good parent, a good friend, a good whatever. Otherwise, I just can't quite reconcile my life. And I'm, as that first statement I said from Erin, I'm kind of pushing against the resistance and her saying, okay, no, this is just, it just kind of is what it is. So now I can make sense of it. There's better acceptance of that, less guilt, whatever, to go, gosh, that's it. Now, I've got to manage that. There's pros and cons for that in the culture. And I do want to say that to what you said earlier, you're talking about school, Renee. We have a culture that is not built around great acceptance of all the different styles in certain arenas. And I don't know if we would say, or would you say that the culture is going to overall somewhat fit one segment necessarily, or, specifically, or one, what do we call one type, I guess, more than others, or it's just different roles. Like, gosh, if you're over here in this sector of the industry or the culture or whatever, it's really going to more so cater to a certain type on the human design. And this, arena may function differently, meaning we're not going to find perfect fits everywhere in our culture and work. What do you think?
Totally. Yeah, I do think that. And going back to what you shared about, such a great point, because I've experienced this with observing friends of mine who, I have one particular friend, and he always talks about, like, no, you gotta, no one really loves what they do, but you gotta make money. That's it, money. And like, that's his driving force. So even though he's not doing something that he loves, it doesn't matter, because what he feels satisfied in is the fact that this is bringing in the income, and then he's, going to retire and he could like live a pretty life. And for me, I'm like, no way. If I'm not doing what I love, like, money's not even the option. And my whole life I operated like that. Like, I never made decisions based on monetary factors. It was always like, what's my passion? And I for so long I was like, is that so weird? Like, am I weird? I don't think of money like that. Like, I should have a better relationship to money. But the truth is, Kevin, money always came because I always followed what I loved. But this friend of mine, he's totally different. And we've had conversations where I'm like, that doesn't even make sense to me. And then when I say, no, I love what I do, he's like, come on. I'm like, no, really? Like, I, take it back when I was a performer. My dream as a little girl was to perform on Broadway. Like, no, I got paid to do what I love. Like, I got paid to do my hobby, and the money came from that.
Yeah.
And now I can understand, no, Renee, you're not weird. That's the way you're designed. You have to do what lights you up. And your friend, I don't know what his human design is, but I guarantee it's not a generator. He doesn't need to do what lights him up. He's satisfied in a career that's something that he can deal with, but it doesn't light him up because the money comes. And now I have an understanding when we're in a conversation, Renee, there's no need to try to change his perspective. No, that's the way he's designed. And it's given me such clarity around myself, because I'm telling you, especially when I started entrepreneurship, I was like, I'm around all these people who are like, oh, you know what? I became an entrepreneur because I could never work for someone else. And I'm like, I don't feel like that. Like, I actually loved having my director, and I never had a problem working for someone else, because in many ways, I'm a fantastic student. Because when you give me structure and you tell me, Renee, I need you here at this time and this is your role, boom, I'll carry it out to the best of my ability. So in many ways, I'm like, that's weird. Like, why do I like being an entrepreneur? Because I don't mind having a boss. But for me, it was just like, no, this is something that lights me up. I know how important human connection is and communication. I got to help people with this. That's why I did this. It wasn't because I don't want to work for someone. And that's okay. But I only know that now, Kevin, because in the beginning, again, I was like, Renee, what's wrong with you? Like all these other people, right? All these entrepreneurs you see, they're always talking about like, oh, I had to be a solo entrepreneur. Or I had to start my own business because I can't work for anybody else. And I wanted to make tons and tons of money. Yes, the money's great. But for me, I'm like, man, it's always about what I'm passionate about. And
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not doing something I'm passionate about, the money, if I have the money, that's great. But if I don't feel that sense of like, woohoo, like fire within me, it's not satisfying.
I love that just to focus on that, the entrepreneur aspect, that you're supposed to, if you are an entrepreneur, you're supposed to want to be an entrepreneur. Do I want to be an entrepreneur? That's a great way to look at it. It's like saying, do I want to be flexible?
Yeah.
Well, I don't really care. No, not in and of itself. I just want the benefits of that. So if that means that I don't have aches and pains and that I can be active longer and whatever, I guess so. I don't want flexibility in and of itself. I don't wake up in the morning going, oh man, it's a day to get to be flexible. I don't know that I get to that the term entrepreneur is so exciting, but there are things that I want to do that entrepreneur seems to be the best vehicle for.
Ah,
There's a lot of pieces of it that I don't, again, enjoy or like. And I wanted to come back. You said money. Talking about that, I was sitting there as you talked, thinking about, gosh, I know people with money. If I looked at them, some of them are very generous with it. Some of them are great at saving. Some of them are great at investing. Some of it are just, I love that they love to just take it and celebrate, and include everybody in that. And they look at these propensities, and again, to not judge them. And yet we'll also look and go, especially for the person who may just be mega generous or love to celebrate or whatever, to go, well, dude, you kind of do need to save some and you might want to invest. That's not going to be their propensity. Go, okay, I'm going to get help. I'm going to have to get help, and let my spouse, maybe they're good at that. Or maybe I need to hire, for me, it's a CPA and a bookkeeper and, the financial planner and whatever, or wealth manager and whatever that you've got to include in that. But I'm not going to beat myself up for the fact that I am just not investing, just doesn't, at least financially, it doesn't. It was interesting. I had these guys I was hanging with, and they were all part of this real estate fund, and they're talking about it. And I'm sitting there going, shoot, I guess I need to invest in real estate. And I'm thinking, I must. I mean, look, they're talking about it, and I'm starting to feel bad about myself. And it occurred to me, this is probably 6 months ago. It's not that long ago. And I finally was like, oh my, because it was starting to stress me out. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I just don't want to. I don't understand. I thought, it's just not my gig. And what came to mind is I invest in real estate of the mind. That's
ooh,
my arena.
drop the mic.
Yeah. I'll invest in your business and what you're doing because I understand it. I don't understand homes and the real estate market. I understand personal development and the growth industry and self-help and all that kind of stuff. And that's where I'm going to invest. So in my business and other people in that arena, do you think it would do, I want to say again, we've been talking about this. I mean, here are the 5. Generator. That's what you are.
Yep.
Manifesting generator, which is different. That's what I am.
Yep.
Projector, manifester, and then reflector. What's your husband?
My husband, I believe he's a manifesting generator, but we're still trying to get his birth time.
Yeah.
So we don't quite know, but after you and I talk, you better believe I'm sending a text to my husband who's at work, and I'm going to say, we need to go to City Hall and get your birth certificate printed, because it is. I think it's so, I think it's such a necessity to expect when you're in a relationship to really understand one another and have the strongest communication you can. I think we need to know our human design.
Yeah.
I want to say this, Kev. Before, when we were talking about guilt, and I said mine is frustration, what that's called is your not self theme. I just want to clarify that. So when you're in your not self, meaning like the opposite of where you are at your best, what you experience for you is guilt. For me, it's frustration. So that's what it's titled.
Okay. I'm not going to be fast enough. Oh, not self theme. Oh, mine's frustration.
Yep.
Mine is frustration. Okay, so my daughter did it, and hers was guilt, I think,
Mm-hmm.
on that. Well, and to that, we've been talking, and this is where I'm happy to just stay. Is that's part of my human design. It's just in the concepts of this. It does end up. I mean, you come down to. Let me go to the. Does it have a table? Yeah, the contents here. So if you go through real quick, just you get this profile, which again, you just talked about having your husband do it. Human design blueprint.com. And if you use the code drive, you get 10% off. And guys, I'm just giving this to you. I don't have some business relationship with Erin. I'm not making a dime here. But you get your chart and it goes through like segment 1 is the basics, how to use your energy best, how you create opportunities, how you best make decisions, how to know you're on track, yada, yada. And this is where I went along and go, oh my gosh, this is pulling out stuff that I have not found in another profile to this degree. Number 2 is your centers, how you get inspired, how you form and share opinions, how you communicate. And it keeps going down in. And then your channels, how it's knowing, vision, discovery, presence, perfecting, intimacy. And again, these are your designs, your propensities, your predispositions. Again, they're not limitations. They're not confinements. They're not I am what I am. And some of these I'm going to look again and go, gosh, in this particular instance right here, we're involved in, whatever you may be in life, a circumstance. I'm going to continue knowing what my propensity is based on human design. Again, in a similar frame as what I've done in the past with the Enneagram and the disc profile and whatnot, to understand myself and to go, gosh, is my propensity, is that going to serve this situation best? Mm-hmm. And it may.
Yeah.
And it also may not. When we're in the hospital and somebody is in, well, even like empathy, and somebody just needs a hug and they need some understanding, or that is not a time for my efficiency to go down and go, okay, we've done that 5 minutes. It's about good. I'm going to go do something to take care of you in the way that, serves me. And I'm going to make sure the doctors are on deck and whatever. No, Kevin. Okay. We know that's my principle. It has its value, but not right now. So there is and I don't know if you have a better term. I tend to think of modifying. There's going to be times when I modify. Is there, I don't know if Erin, what word she would use. I don't think I asked her this. Is there, in those times I am going to, I don't know a better word at the moment than modify.
I think it's, that's where you can shape it, right? Shape it or be flexible, through the awareness, right? Just to say, no, I'm not like eradicating that part of my personality, but it's just, I'm going to bring forward another aspect because right now that's not serving me or the people around me.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, think about it. It's like, okay. My role in the Jersey Boys movie, like you said, like, oh, I hope Renee doesn't show up as Mary Delgado on the interview. Right.
Right.
But think about it. That fire, that passion, that's within me. Right? That's how I was able to draw it out for the role. But on a daily basis, I'm not walking around as Mary Delgado, right? Cursing and this and that. No. But that part of my personality somewhere deep inside me, as the actress, I was able to pull that out. But that doesn't mean that I'm utilizing that in my everyday life. No. But that was something that I needed to utilize for a specific purpose. So I think the same holds true with these qualities that we possess. They're qualities that we can be aware of. And again, we have in our back pocket.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, you know what, that passion, even though you could look at that and say, oh my gosh, whoa, that's scary. You were yelling at him. Well, you know what? Sometimes in our lives, we need to invoke that passion within us. And we need to stand up for ourselves and let someone know, listen, you've hurt me in this way. Sometimes it takes that passion to help shift another's perspective. Just giving an example. But it's about being able to pull out these qualities where they can serve us and the people around us best.
Okay. I so appreciate that. And I'm thinking about, well, let me throw something at you. Cause I asked Erin about this a little bit. I think I'm still pondering it some. I thought about like Ocean's 11. Okay. Most people have seen that movie, and you've got this crew of people with different skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
You've got I don't know this for sure. I'm just kind of making it up on the spot. You got the driver, you got they've called one of them the grease man. They've got some guy who's going to sell the thing to whoever, they've got the muscle, they've got the whatever. They got these different people that are going to have these certain skills, abilities, talents, giftings, propensities. Okay, so that's going to make sense. And I think my feeling still is that certain roles, let's take a salesperson, for instance, are going to tend to be probably one of these types more often than not. But I think Erin was also saying, but I'm also kind of wrong. In essence, you could be a salesperson and be a different type of salesperson. Somebody's going to be happy where it's just a cold call, walking on to a car lot or making a cold call, literally on that. I was never that. I'm a relational. I got to have some kind of in already. I need a warm prospect. I'm not, maybe that's it. A cold call is not me. I need somebody where there's already a connection. And that's what I do. So I'm going to put my sales process out here to have a filter out to the public to where by the time somebody comes to me, I already know that they're interested and we can work with that. I'm not going out and blaring a horn to everybody. That's two different types. And then we could probably say that there's a type for every type, for all the 5 types. There could be a sales position that would fit all 5 types and not have resistance. So again, it's not limiting, but it would say, because I'm seeing this with my kids specifically, because I'm so close to them, of going, okay, so you're not limited in the role that you can take. So I think some of them by proxy are going to be more relevant. But if you do go into that, let's use sales just for that. Could I come up with a sales position role that would fit each one of my very dissimilar children? I think I probably could. I think you could make a case for that. That'd be a fun case study. And of course, I'm saying it's probably already been done by somebody, but I like that idea. But it helps us find that role. There's somebody who could be a different type who could do what Renee has done.
Yeah.
Who could be on stage and go ahead.
The more I think about this, I feel like this tool can be such a resource for facilitating more beauty in this world. And let me explain. If we, as a culture, as a society, as a world, all knew our human design, and we understood what our strengths are, where maybe we have areas of opportunity for growth, and what serves us best and what serves others, that helps us understand each other more. And how beautiful do you think that would be for the world to step outside of judging ourselves from labels, whether they're religious, cultural, political, instead of canceling each other, for lack of a better word, because of the different labels that we attach to one another? We step back and instead have appreciation for it. Like, oh my goodness, what a shift of energy there would be in this world. Because then when I say to someone, I need to do something that lights me up, instead of someone saying, who do you think you are? Oh, wouldn't we all like to do what feels good? Well, we can't do something that feels good. This is life. We got to make money, whether it's tough or not. Instead of that person understanding, okay, I get it, Renee, you're a generator. You actually do need to be lit up to light other people up in the world. If there was a mutual understanding there, oh my goodness, the peace, the joy, the connectedness that we would experience would change the trajectory of the world.
I agree. I'm thinking of perspective. And if we knew, let's say we had 5 people, all different of the 5 different types, and we're all standing together, or we all experience something. We go on a road trip or whatever, go to Vegas, you go experience some event or whatever, to realize that we're going to look around and go, oh, okay, based on what we know about Renee, she's going to have experienced that like this. And John, as a projector, is going to have experienced it like this. And, so-and-so, and to go through that and honor all of those, as
Mm.
opposed to what we do, what I have done, which is like, are you kidding me? That is not what happened. Let me tell you what happened. And I mean, this is at the core of, relational stuff. And in a bigger sense, our cultural polarization, politics, and the whole thing that we're seeing right now. I mean, not to discount right or wrong and bad, and, a crime is a crime and whatnot, but that's not what most of us are dealing with on a daily basis. We're dealing with this, the less acute things, but the things that eat away at us day in and day out. And we're hanging with our family or our spouse or our coworkers, our boss, whatever it is, our employees or the culture at large or the other political side or religious sector. And we're looking and going, are you stupid? Well, no, they're not. They're
No.
not, but they see things, and they even have, I even want to say, and this is a little weighty, but to some degree, different values. Well, again, if we go back to money, I don't think we're going to criticize somebody for being generous where somebody else says, ooh, I feel like we need to save that money or invest that money, whatever. Man, those aren't, none of those are bad values, but we're going to have a propensity, and we need those. We need all of those pieces, but I'm not going to be all of them. Neither are you.
That is so good. That is so, like, you just said that, and that just, I felt that in my spirit. Like, just understanding that we all need all of these designs, because like you said, you and I, we are all right. We got the ideas. Let's do it. Let's start this engine. But then we need the other people to keep it going.
Yeah.
Like, how unbalanced would it be if there was only generators and manifesting generators in the world?
Totally.
But then there weren't reflectors and projectors. Like, we need it all. And I think that is what's the most enlightening part about this is we as one person, as a human being, we're not intended to be Superman or Superwoman. I do everything all the time to perfection. I'm an amazing mom, an amazing spouse. I'm an amazing house cleaner. I'm amazing at finances. I'm amazing at connecting with people. I'm amazing at IT. No, that is not what we are intended to be. And when we can understand that and accept that and celebrate that, now we can come to a culture of collaboration. Like, all right, Kevin and I, we need those manifestors, those reflectors, and those projectors to be on our team as well, because we can't do this all alone. Like, how cool is that to understand that instead of fighting against it? Like, it's such a waste of time and energy by not having that understanding.
Totally. And you've got me thinking about motive, meaning motivating people. That as we look at what I'm going to tend to look at what motivates me and project that onto other people. And what motivates me is not, back to like I was talking earlier about, the passion and inspiration, whatever may not. And it's interesting. I'm thinking about you on stage. So here we are, here you are speaking, or if somebody's doing a TED talk or whatnot, or, the next time I'm talking, is there a way, because I'm going to tend to communicate a certain way because I'm motivated by a certain thing. Is there a way I could craft my talk? Maybe you're way ahead of me on this, but craft the talk to have a little segment that, okay, this little segment is going to relate to the projector and what that motivates them. Are you nodding because you already do this? Okay.
In a sense, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because no, but please continue. Because
I'm just to think about my message, and even that here I am with the show, and I tend to come off a certain way, and maybe that's okay. It's a podcast, and maybe that's why I'm going to tend to attract a certain type of people that resonates with me. Maybe it's on this, human design that they are, and could be talking about the same person, the same guest that I have on the show is going to be on another show. And people really like hearing from that host because they're coming from a different wavelength and a different energy, a different motive. Now, I'm thinking also as a parent, though, that how I'm going to tend to try to motivate my kids to do their chores, do their homework, go to bed, whatever. In the same way, it doesn't make sense. I need to come back and go, okay, if my kid, if Canyon is and I don't know, I need to do this on my kids, is a whatever, what motivates him? So how can I say this different or come to him different with a different understanding? And again, overall, I want to be at how cool to be at a next event we go to, and everybody has to take this, and you put that Name tag. I'm Mary. I'm a projector.
Yes.
Mary, how you doing? Mary, you know what? I know not to hug you. It's cool. I'm good with that. I'm playing with that. I don't know what the projector is, but to understand that, wouldn't that be beautiful?
Oh, so beautiful. That's what I mean. I think this is it's such a wonderful gift. Like, and this is why I resonated so deeply with it. Going back to how we started this, like, this is why I was so excited to share it with you, right? Because as a generator, when something lights me up, I got to share about it. I'm like, Kevin, you have to do this, right? Like, it goes to show that's very in alignment with me as the generator. I was like, no, you have to do this, especially for your show, your podcast. Your listeners will love this. And here we are.
Here we are.
So yes, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, how fun to be at an event where we all have those name tags. And I recently got certified in DISC profile.
Oh, sweet.
And we talked about that in the training, how some of the people in the training who are already using it for their companies, they have their DISC profiles for every person in the company with the color coordination of that DISC profile. They have it outside their office door. So it would be like, I'm Kevin and I'm a high D and high I. And that way when people walk past, they know. So it's like, okay, we know how to approach Kevin. We know how to communicate with him. The same can be done with human design, to be like, okay, I'm dealing with a manifesting generator right now. Okay. I know that what I'm going to get from them are a whole lot of ideas. They're going to initiate. They're going to need to be fired up. And all right, I know what I'm dealing with. I just think that would be such a powerful way to connect.
Well, to come back to where we started then, to be in flow.
Yeah.
To be in flow, to be in an environment, especially with other people, and understand myself, not be resisting my propensities and not be resisting other people's that have understanding, which we can do without them having a name tag, and understanding. We can learn to sense that. And I want to become a ninja with this stuff so that I am better in flow with myself, with other people. And well, hey, as the generators, thanks for generating this, Renee. I'm incredibly grateful. I'm so grateful or eager to learn more about this. And we'll keep talking. So let me give the resources for this for everybody, and just grateful that you guys continue to tune in as we try to live more in our authentic drive, that's why we're here talking about this. Again, it's humandesignblueprint.com. And you can go there and get a free profile. My daughter did that the other day. We were in the car together, car shopping, and she did it real quick and pulled it up. And then if you want to go further and get the paid one, if you use the code DRIVE, you can get 10% off. So that's Erin Claire Jones. That's who Renee turned me on to. And you can find Erin. Oh man, I type it in, Erin Claire Jones. I don't know what it's under in Instagram. She's got a huge following there and does a lot of stuff there. Renee, go find Renee at reneemarino.com. Here, let me grab the book. All right, holding up for the video. There it is, becoming a master communicator. But she's got so much going on communicating well. And I would put that in this same aspect of understanding how to communicate well. Talking about flow is a primary ingredient. So Renee, thank you for doing this. As always, it's such a gift.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I always love speaking with you. This has been amazing.
Likewise. Well, and folks, if you got value, which I know you did, let us know. Go leave a rating on Spotify, leave a review on Apple, and say, oh my gosh, Renee is absolute the bomb. I know that's what you're thinking right now. Let us know on Apple. You can watch us, and this is a fun show to watch specifically, and find us on social media. We'll do a bunch of clips. You can find it all on YouTube and social at Kevin Miller CO. And if you want to learn how to master your own inner drive, get my book, What Drives. You can find it on Amazon. And until next time, stay driven.
Yeah.